Good day, folks, and welcome to the Anorak Review Show with I, your host, the Anorak. And welcome to the penultimate installment of this year's Anoraknoween. And with the recent release of another Queen song, long believed to have been lost to time, it figures that I'd look at another Queen album, especially one that would be turning 45 years old later this month. Last time I talked about Queen was back in my 50th episode where I covered A Day at the Races, and a couple of months ago where I looked into what's considered Queen's most divisive and polarizing album, Hot Space. But fortunately, we've got an album that I think most Queen fans might definitely agree on being among their best. And that would be 1977's News of the World. The cover is very distinct, featuring a rather sad-looking robot holding the dead bodies of the Queen band members. Maybe he didn't really mean to kill them, it was probably by accident or something. The artwork itself was done by American sci-fi and fantasy painter Frank Kelly Freas, whose cover art on the front of an issue of Astounding Science Fiction, which happened to have been owned by Queen drummer Roger Taylor, had inspired the band members to contact Frank to make him a recreation of his own painting, this time featuring Queen themselves. Plus, this is a somewhat unique gatefold, at least in how the artwork is oriented. Instead of opening sideways like a normal book, this opens downward, almost like a portrait or a film poster. Speaking of, inside, said robot is grabbing at a fleeing crowd. Bit reminiscent of those old classic monster movie posters of the 50s and 60s. So, Mr. Robot here feels bad for killing the Queen band, but not for any of the other people here. Well, anyways, let's jump into the music itself, shall we? We begin the album itself with a double anthem, two equally fantastic rock anthems for the price of one. The first of which being We Will Rock You. Written by guitarist Brian May, he was apparently inspired by a particular gig in Bingley Hall, Stafford, where the band had done a little encore and the crowd was singing back to them. So remembering that in mind, he decided to make a simple stadium-style song in which the audience can be able to interact directly with the band themselves. Many of Queen's songs are so instantaneously recognizable, and this is absolutely no exception. Just hearing that ever-iconic stomp, stomp, clap, pause, it just makes me want to bop along to it as well. Such was achieved by the band members overdubbing their own stomps, claps, and vocals, and using a delay effect to give it a feeling that a whole crowd of people were performing along as well. A simple yet ingenious creation. The equally minimalistic lyrics themselves seem to add this openly rebellious feeling to it as well, which shouldn't be too surprising considering the year it came out in. The late and forever great lead singer himself, Freddie Mercury, seems to sing in second person. In each of the three verses, he sings about either a boy, then a young man, and an old man, getting disgraced with mud on their faces, but no matter what, they remain strong and determined, singing We Will Rock You. However, this song isn't just all stomping, clapping, and chanting, but we also get a striking guitar riff from who else but Brian May to close out this song proper before bringing us directly into the very next song. This track will indeed rock you, and if it doesn't, I don't even know what will. That then leads us right into the other great rock anthem, We Are the Champions, written by lead vocalist Freddie Mercury. The use of we in both songs and their respective titles demonstrate this sense of unity and strength through teamwork. Going off the very same inspiration Brian had for the previous song, Freddie put together this little piano ballad where he had paid his dues and done his sentence, even made a few mistakes and had sand kicked in his face. Coarse, rough, irritating, and getting everywhere. But by the end of the first verse and into the first and always recognizable chorus, we get the bass of John Deacon and the drums of Roger Taylor, as well as Brian's overdubbed guitars. And it all just comes together so well in here. The percussion, the harmonic vocals, the guitar, it just all breathes together into a life of awe and wonder. This and We Will Rock You were and are almost played together at the end of nearly every Queen concert ever since its release. And that definitely fits. These two really fit together well as a kind of brother and sister kind of thing. And I can't entirely imagine playing one without the other. And I guess many other people thought similarly as well, since not only is this song used fittingly in a lot of sports events, but back in 2011, a group of researchers have considered this the most catchiest song in recent popular music history. Subjective? Maybe, but this is certainly a runner-up in there. This is one champion of a song. Next is Sheer Heart Attack, one of two songs in this album to have been written by drummer Roger Taylor. This song was in fact intended for the album of the very same name, Sheer Heart Attack, back in 1974, but among a few reasons it hadn't been finished in time until it finally got its chance here. And I'm kind of glad of such, since this definitely fits in with the whole punk rock scene of that year of 77, with its simple, fast-paced and raw high energy, which of course obviously fits in more with the early pre-Night of the Opera Queen era. So Queen, Queen 2 and Sheer Heart Attack. While Freddie sings the verses and Brian still plays on lead shredding guitar, even doing a few high-pitched squeaks and screeches that don't even sound like a conventional guitar, Roger pretty much plays any and all other instruments here. Not just his standard percussion, but also bass guitar, rhythm guitar, and even singing the main chorus. Near the end, the song gets interrupted for a brief moment as Roger performs this wacky drum roll similar to Tusk by Fleetwood Mac, lasting for barely a few seconds before returning proper to the main riff before heading into an abrupt halt entirely. Again, similar to a lot of punk tracks of its era. That and a musical big-lipped alligator moment. Has anyone ever reused that meme before? I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if someone actually got a literal heart attack just from rocking so hard to this song. Although, if something like that did actually happen, you might really want to call a doctor or hospital on that. Then we have All Dead, All Dead. Another track written by Brian May, but also one of two songs sung mainly by him as well. Being another piano-centric ballad, this seems like Brian was trying to emulate Freddie's own style while succeeding to a surprising extent. Musically and lyrically, this manages to be both bleak and somehow not so bleak at the same time. The way Brian sings about being all dead and gone, the dreams he had and wondering if he still lives on, paints to mind this haunting image of Brian himself just wandering through a field of freshly dead corpses, although less like a horror film and more like the aftermaths of a war or an apocalypse, at the rainbow's end and somehow still hearing that sweet song. Or the song could just be about Connor MacLeod reflecting on all the mortals and immortals who have passed and died. For a while, there had been a rumour going about that this song was mostly inspired by the passing of Brian's own pet cat, to which he actually confirmed. Yeah, quite interesting to say the least, but then again, Roger Taylor previously wrote a song literally titled I'm in Love with My Car, So they could and will write and sing about practically anything, and it would still work. After that is Spread Your Wings, one of 2 tracks in this album to have been written by bassist John Deacon. And this is considered by many, including Freddie himself, to be among John's best compositions. And it's not hard seeing and hearing why, although I still personally and slightly prefer Another One Bites the Dust a bit more. In this, Freddie sings in a third-person narrative, which is a bit unique for Queen, about a boy named Sammy who works in a mundane job where he cleans the floors at the Emerald Bar. Who knew Emerald City has a pub? Then we have the chorus, where another thing unique about this particular Queen song occurs. Normally when it comes to Queen songs, especially with their choruses and stuff, most of them would have those distinct and iconic harmonic vocals from either 3 or all 4 band members. And you'd expect such from this as well. But for better or worse, we get none of that. Freddie's pretty much left alone to take on the vocalizing full on. Regardless though, this still continues on the themes of dreaming and thriving and striving for freedom and more, no matter what the odds may be, as established from the first 2 songs. And of course, what Queen song could ever be complete without a guitar solo from dear old Brian? Especially one to end out the song with. Along with Another One Bites the Dust, this track really does demonstrate John Deacon's songwriting skills. Side 1 ends with Fight from the Inside, the other song in this album to have been written by Roger Taylor. Take everything from the inside and throw it all away, because I swear for the last time I won't trust myself with you. Similar to Sheer Heart Attack, this track has Roger perform nearly all of the instruments, main vocals, percussions, bass and rhythm guitar, with Brian May offering a bit of shredding lead guitar as well, altogether giving me some Led Zeppelin vibes. Even Roger's vocal delivery here reminds me very much of Robert Plant, calling to you boy, thinking you're gonna set things to right, you're just another picture on the teenage wall. And that teenage wall is already hitting way past puberty, so you better be careful. This is definitely among Queen's more underrated songs, and like Sheer Heart Attack, this too demonstrates Roger Taylor's skills at songwriting. And a fun fact, guitarist Slash, best known as a member of Guns N' Roses, had considered the guitar riff in the song to be one of his favorites. And when friggin' Slash approves your track, you know you've done something right.